Isn't it fascinating to reflect on how there are different cultures in the world? Have you ever wondered why that is? What makes the culture different? What's at the fundamental level? What's at the nucleus of the culture? What's the basic structure? The fundamental ingredients that produce what we call cultures in the world. European culture, more specific country culture, Japanese culture, Chinese, Australian culture. I don't often think about Australian culture, but that's also got to be a thing. Canadian culture, French, you name it. What is going on there? What is going on there? I spoke to a gentleman probably in his 80s a number of years ago on the bus when I was in college at Utah Valley University, and he was from France. I got to chatting with him, and I asked him, when he is in France, does he experience different emotions than when he's in the United States? I really wanted to know, do they actually feel some things that are different than us because they have different words? Do they actually have a different emotional experience? And he explained it like this. When he is in France, he is more likely to get irritated. And I thought that was kind of interesting. He said something about the way we think in France, or the way I think in France, at least for his perspective, is that his temper was more likely to flare up, and he would get upset about things that he would be less likely to be upset about here in the United States. And that's always sort of stuck with me. In the causal coaching world, we emphasize how our thoughts generate our emotions, and then our actions flow from our emotional place. And so this makes complete sense to me, that each culture has its own kind of like a thought playlist or an emotional playlist that's just ingrained. It's like a record, a vinyl record. It's those grooves have been made to produce that similar outcome. Every country has its own record, so to speak, that's playing. It's the amalgam of, it's the sum of all the thoughts and beliefs coming together that produces the emotions, and which produces the actions, combined with all the inherent circumstances like the shared history, the geographical resources, and so on, that make the culture what it is. And even within a country, you've got different regions of the country, and they're going to have their own culture. Those people that have routinely interacted with each other, they've developed their own thought and emotional playlist, which produces a set of actions and outcomes. And even within a region, you have individual families, and each family has its own culture, all the individuals in that household and the sum of all their thoughts and routine emotions, routine actions, their beliefs of what's possible or not possible, or what should be or what shouldn't be, that creates the culture of that household. Stephen R. Covey put it like this: every organization, every individual person on earth is perfectly aligned to produce the outcome that it does. Perfectly aligned. The universe is an orderly place, even though it's infinitely vast and it seems almost unknowable in many ways. It is an orderly system. And everything that happens occurs because of how things are aligned, because of how the laws are set up. And so, because our thoughts produce our emotions, which produce our actions, everything in our life is the way it is because of this conveyor belt. Now, we inherit different circumstances. Each of our children, as fathers, they're different individuals. They come preloaded, so to speak, with certain elements of their personality, their nature, their general demeanor. And that's going to be different. And we do have circumstances outside of our control that occur. But it's how we think about them and the subsequent emotions and our subsequent actions and subsequent results that produces our reality. I've spent time trying to argue against this, trying to come up with scenarios in which this may not be the case. And every now and then I'll feel like maybe I've found something that speaks to, well, there's limitations to this. But 95% of the time, it's most useful and serves me more to embrace the reality that I have the ability to interpret the circumstances in my personal life and in the world at large any way I choose. I can think about them any way that I want, and therefore produce the outcome that I want. So what are we thinking about? What are the routine thoughts, and therefore the beliefs that we are upholding that are guiding our lives right now? What do we believe is possible? What are we fixating on right now, and is therefore producing the emotions that we're experiencing right now and the subsequent actions? This is very crucial to figure out. How do we do it? Well, there is a way. And it's sort of akin to the onboard diagnostic tools that you can use, plug into your car, and it will tell you what you're thinking. Just like if you were to really study a culture, do a ton of interviews of all these people and hear what they have to say, they're giving you their thoughts, sentences in their mind, and you could create a report and identify certain key things that the people in that culture are thinking, or the people in the household, single household, are thinking. And you would be able to identify those things. So in your car, it'll give you back the codes Okay, this is what your car is saying is going on, and these are the recommended actions. I did that just the other day. I'd never purchased one of those little devices. I used to think they were just way too much money, and I wasn't even going to bother. I would just drive somewhere and have them do it. Well, I bought one for $25, and there was an app on my phone that I downloaded and plugged it in, and it told me exactly what was going on with my van. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just scan your head with a Bluetooth something or other, and it would tell you, this is everything you're thinking about? Wouldn't that be easy, right? Maybe someday. And maybe that technology exists, but we don't have access to it or something. You never know in this interesting world we live in. But there's a way that you can do it, and you basically have to conduct sort of an interview with yourself and just start monologuing to yourself, writing things down. There's a few ways to do this. You could go ahead and write it out by hand. A lot of us don't write much of anything out by hand anymore, so that might be nice to actually practice and realize that you do have that skill. Be prepared for a little bit of writer's cramp, though. But give yourself some 15, 20 minutes to sit down and write everything that you're thinking about. And it's going to be messy. Allow it to be messy. We're interested in whatever it is you have to say. And when you're done, go ahead and look at it. Write down what you're afraid of. Write down what you're excited about. Write down things that are going on with your kids and what you think about that. Write down things that are going on between you and your wife and what you think about that. Your job, and just write all the stuff down. It doesn't have to be an essay presentation quality here. This is a thought download. This is a cold, hard facts. Gather what's going on in your brain. You're not going to be incredibly good at this at first, but as you practice this more often, you're going to be able to identify the things that you're thinking about. What is a common theme? What are the disempowering thoughts that you're thinking? Why are you thinking those? What are the empowering thoughts that are going on? And how are these thoughts contributing to how you are showing up as a father, how you're showing up as a husband, etc., in the different roles that you play in your life? You could also do a recording like I'm doing now on my iPhone. I can use the voice recorder app and just talk and talk and talk and talk, and it will transcribe everything that you're saying. So it's quite possible that you will pull more out as you write and sit and think about it. It's a different process, a different experience to sit down and write it, but you could start by talking and recording it if you want to, and listening to it, reflecting back on it. Something that I've also done is a thought download, and I'll actually create a PDF of it and upload it into Notebook LM. And depending on how you feel about sharing your personal information with the internets, maybe you won't do that. I don't know. Depends on the person. But I've done that, and you can have it create a summary of what's going on there. And I've been able to see interesting feedback just from the summary that it states. You can actually have it generate a conversation between two AI voices commenting on what you've provided. And that kind of puts you in the position to be even more of the watcher of your own thoughts, to hear other people talking about what you said. They don't have an agenda. The algorithm that produces that feedback does not have an agenda for you. Or does it? This is just another way to get eyes on your thoughts. So it's your onboard diagnostic tool, basically, that shows you where you're at. So many of us don't take the time to reflect and realize, really, what are we thinking these days? What's going on? We may think we do, but until we start getting good at these thought downloads, we're not fully in control of what's going on, because so much of our daily routine is routinized to the point that we don't even know why we're doing what we're doing. We have these grooves so deeply embedded in our personal brain's record player of what to do, when to do, that we don't know why we're doing it anymore. What's terrific is that our brains are moldable. Our thoughts are shapeable. We can change them. It's a term you may have heard of before called neuroplasticity. Our brains can be impacted, and we can change our approach over time. So, all the cultures in the world, it's simply a summation, an amalgam of all the routine thoughts that those people think, the subsequent emotions and actions. And that's what creates the culture. At the country level, at the region level, city level, the family level, and at the personal level. You have an onboard diagnostic tool. Let's go ahead and use it, see where we're at, and then from there, we can decide what kind of thoughts to pivot into to help us be a little more intentional about the outcome. That's it for now.